These altcoins are built for scarcity, and they do that by having a fixed supply. Now, a fixed supply is also the tokenomic model for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is what they call disinflationary. But are there altcoins that are disinflationary, or which ones are deflationary or inflationary? And what does this all mean, and why does it affect your altcoin prices? And if you look at the top altcoins, you're going to see a lot of different tokenomic models. Bitcoin has that fixed supply, 21 million. Cardano has a fixed supply, 45 billion. But ETH is technically infinite, and so is Solana, and so is Doge. But is that what the data actually tells us? And a fixed supply, when you're talking about cryptocurrency, just refers to a predetermined maximum number of coins or tokens that can ever exist for a particular coin. Once the maximum supply is reached, no new coins or tokens will ever be created or minted. This is different from fiat currencies like the US dollar, where governments can print more money, potentially causing inflation and reducing purchasing power, or some of these other altcoins that have infinite token supply. Now remember, inflation is an increase in the circulating supply of a token. Deflation is where the circulating supply decreases over time due to some built-in mechanisms. And disinflation means a decrease to the rate of inflation. So it's still inflating, but it's shrinking the amount of inflation year over year. Now you can see this if you go to CoinMarketCap. You can see the circulating supply here, and it's above my head, but you'll see where there is a fixed supply. Like Bitcoin, it kind of has a bar chart. 94.78% of the Bitcoin has been released, but then you don't see one for Ethereum because it's infinite amount. And then you'll see nothing for Solana as well, but you do see one for Cardano. And if you hover over XRP, 59% of the XRP has been released, also has a fixed supply. So let's dive in. Now, this all started from the Bitcoin white paper. Bitcoin started the trend of a fixed supply. Its fixed supply limit of 21 million coins is a key feature that set it apart from other currencies at the time. And Satoshi Nakamoto, the Bitcoin creator, set this 21 million cap to create scarcity and positioning Bitcoin as digital gold. This 21 million limit is hard-coded in a Bitcoin system, ensuring no more than 21 million Bitcoins will ever exist. Well, let's go down to the next token, which is Ethereum. Now, Ethereum is a little bit more complicated. Ethereum is technically today inflationary, but it depends on what timeline you're looking at. Now, ETH did a huge shift 2 years and 328 days ago. That's when they called it the merge, and they went from a proof-of-work blockchain, meaning computers solve blocks to earn Ethereum, to proof-of-stake blockchain, meaning large whales with lots of ETH validated the network. It's the same model for Solana. Now, since the burn is what they called it here, you'll see that ETH has had, random moments of where it's more inflationary than other times or disinflationary. But if you go back since the shift to proof-of-stake, you'll see that ETH initially remained neutral, so really couldn't tell if it wanted to be inflationary, disinflationary, then turned firmly deflationary. Ethereum was reducing supply by hundreds of millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of ETH. But then a shift came, and basically people stopped using ETH as much because of the layer 2s. Layer 2s took a lot of the transactions off the Ethereum blockchain, and the transactions are technically what kind of burns ETH. And so since there are less transactions on ETH has now been inflationary, and if you go back just the last 30 days, you'll see that ETH's inflation rate is a little less than 1%, 0.73. So this is going to create net new ETH of 973K ETH this year at this rate. So let's go to the next token. So ETH, that might affect its token price, but XRP does have a fixed supply. XRP's fixed supply is 100 billion tokens. Meaning after that, no XRP can ever be created, and technically it's kind of deflationary. There is a deflationary mechanism via transaction fees, but when you dive in, it's a very, very, very small rate. It is only burned about 15 million out of 100 billion. When you look at the math right there, it doesn't seem too deflationary, so it's a negligible amount. Now, XRP launched pre-mined with all 100 billion tokens were already created at the outset, and they have scheduled releases. Now, there are 1 billion that hit the market essentially every month, and that's the Ripple Labs escrow wallet. And the deflationary mechanism doesn't go into it right here, but every 100,000 transactions, it burns 1 XRP. So it really is more of a fixed supply token. Now, you don't see it for BNB, but this is actually maybe a little bit of a gem here, a little bit of alpha for you. BNB does technically have a fixed supply, but it's technically burning it at a rate that no one could really determine because it just depends. And they have what they call their quarterly auto burns, and they're burning the heck out of this token. You can see right here, they have burned 62 million tokens out of the 200 million that will be total. Now technically it's 202 million, you can see it right there. Now CZ, the creator and founder of Binance, he has like 70% of the BNB token, so highly centralized, but you probably don't have to worry too much about dumping, and you definitely don't have to worry about inflation with BNB, the more deflationary token. But what about Solana? Now Solana, it's an infinity symbol when you look at their token supply. They don't have a max supply because its design incorporates an ongoing but decreasing inflation rate to incentivize the participation of the network, mostly the Solana validators. Now the big whales that have a lot of Solana, they're rewarded in Solana when they validate the network. And some of this is burned, but it is mostly an inflationary model. Now what about TRON? I don't see a fixed supply for TRON right here. Now if you go check out TRON, TRON does not have a fixed maximum supply. There were 100 billion at inception, but it does lack a strict hard cap like Bitcoin. Now there is a slight deflationary aspect, and you can see it right here. They used to have 100 billion, now it's down to 94 billion. But that could change over time, so be careful. Don't get mad at me if it's 101 billion 5 years from now. Now let's go check out Cardano. Cardano is a hard cap token. There's only 45 billion that will ever exist. 36 billion is out already, and this is also disinflationary. You stake your Cardano and you're rewarded every 5 days with more Cardano, and eventually this rate will slow and slow and slow, and we'll reach 45 billion one day. So that's the breakdown for the top 10. Is this token infinite? Is it deflationary? Is there a fixed supply? Not a lot of people are aware of some of these little minute facts here, so I'm breaking it down for you. I'm DZ4 Discover Crypto, and hopefully I'll see you in your fixed supply altcoins at the top.